Good morning, class. Today we will be studying about movement in and out of the cell. Our objectives for today's lessons are to explain the ways of transportation of materials in and out of the cell. We will be discussing in this lesson about diffusion and life processes, osmosis, and active transport. Smells and liquid spreading out. Okay, what do you think how these substances move from one place to another? Like, for example, something is cooking in your kitchen and you are sitting in your room and you smell the food in your room which is coming from the kitchen. How is that possible? Or like when you are mixing a concentrated drink in a water glass, how the drink mixes all over in the glass, and the glass or the water color changes its colors. Or when you, for example, spray a perfume in one corner of the room and a person sitting in the next corner of the room, he can smell that perfume. So all these processes, they occurs through diffusion. In diffusion, we says that it is the movement of molecules from high concentration area to low concentration area. So the molecules in high concentration area moves towards the low concentration area. So in that way they can move around and spread out in the whole area or in the whole available area. Diffusion and changing concentration. The smell will be the strongest if we take the example of a perfume in the source area from where it is sprayed, and it will be in low concentration in the other end. So these molecules of the perfume, they will spread out towards that area in which the molecule concentration is lesser. So the molecules, they move from high concentration area, or this is the concentration gradient, like the difference between the molecules of that substance in two areas. One is the source area and the other one is the non-source area. So the source area contains the highest concentration of molecules which will move towards the non-source area, and the person sitting in the next corner will feel that smell after some time, because these molecules, they will slowly and gradually move towards that area in which the molecules are in low concentration. This is called as concentration gradient. Changing concentration. In these two diagrams, you can see the difference between the molecules of a substance before diffusion and after diffusion. So before diffusion, the molecules concentration will be at its highest value in the source area, but they have to move across that area. So these molecules cannot stay in that area for longer period of time, because they have available space, and gases, they diffuse very quickly in the available spaces. So these molecules which are jumbled up in one side or at one corner will be in the next picture. You can see that they are diffused, or they can spread in the whole available area. So diffusion is the movement of gas or dissolved molecules from high concentration to low concentration area. Okay, molecules diffuses down a concentration gradient. What does that mean? Do you know that? If you know, answer it. Okay, diffusion and life processes. Living organisms, bodies are complex structures. They are made up of millions and billions of cells. all these cells get their nutrition equally. Like if you talk about a unicellular organism, that organism's his whole body is surrounded by water or any other medium in which it stays. So the whole body is in contact with the environment. But in case of the complex organisms, their cells are not in direct contact with the environment permanently, because most of the cells, they combine together to form tissues and then organs and then organ systems. So how these complex organisms receive, or their cells receive those nutrients and oxygen and all those substances which are required for the healthy life. These all materials can be diffused, like for example oxygen, which is dissolved in the blood, moves into your body or travels surrounding your around your body and distribute oxygen and dissolved food material into your cells. So those molecules of food and oxygen, they are in high concentration in your blood but in less concentration in your tissue spaces. So those molecules, they will diffuse into those tissue space areas, and the cell will get them from those tissue space area, which is called as the interstitial space areas. How do these vital substances cross boundaries within the body to get to where they are needed? Okay, oxygen and dissolved food molecules must diffuse into and out of the blood for transportation around the body. Where does diffusion take place within the body? There are specific organs where diffusion occurs inside our body, like for example our lungs. So diffusion and breathing. Breathing involves the exchange of gases in the lungs, a process of which occurs by diffusion. Like the oxygen concentration in the alveoli of the lungs is higher than the oxygen concentration in the blood capillaries. So the blood capillaries which comes to the alveoli, they receive the oxygen from the alveoli through diffusion. So the gases or the oxygen, it diffuses from the alveoli into the blood, and then the blood transport it all over the body. Like that, the blood vessels, they contain carbon dioxide in high concentration, but carbon dioxide is in low concentration in the alveoli. So carbon dioxide will diffuse into the alveoli from the blood, and we expire that carbon dioxide. Where in the lungs does gaseous exchange take place? Okay, diffusion and breathing. Oxygen. This is the procedure or structure shown of an alveoli and the blood capillary which bathes the alveoli. The oxygen concentration is low in the blood which comes to the alveoli, and the blood capillary which leaves the alveoli has the higher concentration of oxygen. So the deoxygenated blood comes to the alveoli and the oxygenated blood leaves the alveoli. Here in the alveoli, diffusion of gases, it occurs. And when we breathe out carbon dioxide, so the deoxygenated blood, it contains the higher amount of carbon dioxide which enters into the alveoli, and alveoli contain the lesser amount of carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide will move from the blood capillary into the alveoli, and then we breathe out carbon dioxide from our body. Diffusion from the small intestine. As you know, when we eat food, it becomes digested. It passes from a long pathway, like from the mouth to the esophagus, from the esophagus to the stomach, and from the stomach to the small intestine. There are three parts in the small intestine. The last part of the small intestine contains the structure in front of you, the villi. These villi are present in the small intestine, and the diffusible part of the food, or the dissolved part of the food, the digested part of the food, is absorbed by this villi, the blood capillary in the villi. So there are two structures in the villi, one is the lacteal and the other one is the blood capillary. All the water soluble substances are diffused into the blood capillary, and all the fat soluble substances are diffused into the lacteal. So all these materials which is present in the small intestine in high concentration area diffuses into the blood capillaries, and then these blood capillaries took them to the liver and then distribute them into the whole parts of the body. What is osmosis? Osmosis is just like diffusion, but here the diffusion involves the movement of water molecules, not the gaseous molecules, across a partially permeable membrane or the semi-permeable membrane. So the movement of water molecules across a semi-permeable or a partially permeable membrane is called as diffusion. The cell membrane, it contains small tiny holes, and through those holes these water molecules along with the dissolved substances, they move into and out of the cell through that semi-permeable membrane. Here we have an experiment of osmosis. We have some strong sugar solution inside a bag which we keep it in a beaker containing water. So after some time that strong sugar solution, it will absorb the water. So water will move from the beaker into the bag, which inflate or which make the bag inflated, because the sugar concentration is higher in the bag and there the water concentration is low. So the water from the surrounding will move into the bag, making the bag turgid or inflated. What is active transport? Here the word active means the movement of molecules from low concentration area to high concentration area. It is the reverse process of diffusion, but here we also have some other molecules involved in this process. These molecules are known as the energy molecules. So active transport, it needs energy to make it happen. Like it is impossible to move some molecules from low concentration area to high concentration area without the expense of energy. It can't be happened. But if our cells, if our body uses some energy, then these molecules can be brought inside the cells or can be brought outside of the cell, depending upon the concentration gradient. But here we have like the movement of molecules from low concentration to high concentration area. How do molecules move along the concentration gradient during active transport? Active transport in plants. In the root hair cells of plants, we have already the highest concentration of minerals and salts like magnesium, like nitrates, nitrites, all these things, they are in high concentration. But still plant need them. So if plant need them, then they have to absorb them from the soil. So these root hair cells are responsible for absorbing the molecules of minerals and salts from the soil, which are in low concentration in the soil than in the root hair cell, but by the expense of energy. These root hair cells have to use their energy to bring those molecules inside the cell, because they are already in less concentration in the soil than the root hair cell. Here the active transport, it occurs in the root hair cells. They uses their energy to bring the molecules inside the cells. Thank you.